August 28th of last year. A 16-year-old high school student walked into the library in my hometown, pulled a handgun from his backpack, and opened fire. He injured 5 and killed 2 people. There are good hearts and bad hearts. 1070 BC, 2 army leaders lead their people into the enemy's camp. A total of 34,000 lives are lost, and the Ark of the Covenant is lost to the Philistines. There are good hearts, and there are bad hearts. Perhaps an armed teenager does not have the nicest heart, and perhaps the religious leaders of the Israelites did not have such nice or pure hearts either. Hophni and Phinehas were the sons of Eli, and in chapter 2 of 1 Samuel, we learn that these gentlemen were not so gentle. Starting in verse 12, we read, "Now the sons of Eli were worthless men. They did not know the Lord. The custom of the priests of the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant would come while the meat was boiling, and with a 3-pronged fork in his hand would thrust into the offering. And all that the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself." We read that these sons were the priests of Israel, the priests, the seemingly holiest and closest to God, and they're taking what is God's. And in God's inspired word, he even calls them worthless. God calls them worthless. Later in verse 34, we read that a man of God comes to Eli to tell him God's plan for his sons, and even singles out Hophni and Phinehas, saying, "And this that shall come upon your 2 sons, it shall be a sign to both of you. Both shall die on the same day." Continuing on to chapter 4, verses 1 through 2. Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Ai. The Philistines drew up the line against Israel, and the battle spread. Israel was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the field of battle. Indeed, the leaders of the Israelites had lost God's favor. Continuing in verses 34 and 35. So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and they fled, every man to his home. And there was a very great slaughter, for 30,000 foot soldiers died. And the Ark of God was captured, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. In chapter 2, the word tells us that these men are wicked, worthless, carousing, rabble-rousing sons. It does not take Sherlock Holmes to deduce that God was not the king of their hearts. After this failure, God later appoints Samuel as the new judge over Israel, and they flourish. They regain the ark, and more is added to their number to replace the slain from before. Samuel has a good heart. In my city, our library was attacked. A student at my high school entered the premises and chose to take the lives of 2 of the librarians that worked there, for no other reason than self-hate and bitterness. 2 lives, 2 families whose lost loved one was their world. Jesus was clearly not the king of his heart. Local schools went into lockdown, and nothing in Clovis moved for days afterwards. Paranoia spread through schools. Parents kept their students home. The school board was on damage control. The police were investigating motives. Student speculation and rumors were rampant. Clovis was brought to its knees, all because of one bad heart. But like the proverbial phoenix, it rose from the ashes. Movements, bake sales, memorials, church sermons, car decals, the works. The good hearts of Clovis banded together and rebuilt the moral integrity of the city from the ground up. In a similar fashion in my hometown, so too did the Israelites in 1 Samuel rise from the ashes. The corrupted government and selfishness of the priests and leaders of the church broke the attendees and emptied every pocket for the personal gain of the scoundrels of Israel. But like the mythological birth of Athena from the forehead of Zeus came Samuel, a name known by every boy or girl who cracks the time-tested pages of the Christian sacred text. The goodness in the hearts of Clovis. The goodness in the heart of Samuel. Hearts that God ruled over repaired the damage done by the bad hearts. There are bad hearts, but there are also God ones.
Hello, I'm Stephen Nichols from Memorial Road Church of Christ in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I'm in the 8th grade. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Brave Wilderness, but this is a YouTube channel that I really enjoy watching, and so they go on these animal adventures with this host guy named Coyote Peterson. And one of the things that they do on this channel is he gets bitten, stung, and pinched by a variety of different animals to see how he reacts and how painful it is. And one of the things that they did is he climbed the insect sting pain index to see what was the king of sting, as they call it. And on the top of that, what they call the king of sting was a bullet ant from Central and South America. It's a 1-inch long black ant, and they call it the bullet ant because they say its sting is so painful it feels like being shot. And another nickname for the ant is the 24-hour ant because they say the extreme pain can last 24 hours. And it's really weird seeing a full-grown man with a high pain tolerance fall to the ground crying in pain after being stung by a little black ant. So now you know why the bullet ant is the king of sting. Now, in sharp contrast, this same Coyote Peterson guy went on a different adventure, which was swimming with manatees. Now, this is a 13-foot long, 1,300-pound animal. These are big, scary animals. Imagine swimming and seeing one of those things swimming towards you. That would get your heart racing. But the reality of it is that they're harmless. You see, the manatee is like Goliath. It's big, it's scary, but it doesn't have the impactfulness or the potential that David or the ant did. You see, the ant gets its impactfulness and potential from God, who gave it the powerful venom. And David also gets his impactfulness and potential from God because he made God the king of his heart and allowed God to use him as a tool that he can work with. You see, we too need to make God the king of our hearts so that God can give us the strength to defeat the giants in our lives. And these giants are often ourselves and our own temptations, but the closer we are to God, the farther we are from the dark side. So you might be wondering, well, now you know that you need to make God the king of your heart. So now we want to address the subject, how do I know if God is the king of my heart? So Saul and David have had a really bad relationship, and Saul has been hunting down David to kill him. But in 1 Samuel chapter 24, verse 3 through 6, David gets the chance to kill Saul, and we can see how he reacted. So it says, "He came to the sheep pens along the way. A cave was there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were far back in the cave. The men said, 'This is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish.' Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, 'The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay my hand on him, for he is the anointed of the Lord.'" You see, David is a warrior who has killed tens of thousands of men in battle, and this is his mortal enemy. But he let Saul live not by his own desire and his own pleasure, but by God's desire. You see, if we base our choices off of our desire, then we are the king of our own hearts. But if we base our choices off of God's desire, then God is the king of our hearts. Thank you. Yeah, we did LTC. It was so much fun.
This year was so good. It was my final year. Better knock on wood.
That's not wood.
Boom. Yeah, you just roasted me.
Oh, you need some toast with that burn? Please.
Let's see how many you can get. We're walking around the building. See how many you can get. How many what? Numbers. I got a number. It's like a Grand Canyon. Oh. How did they get this? I'm going. Are you kidding me? I've seen that all over the place. It's like a resort. They have all these hotels around here just for this place. Hey, it's the Hollywood Tower of Terror over there.
Hi.
The Hollywood Tower of Terror over there. Is that such a thing? Alright, so is this your last memory? And you're using that ball now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this was it, guys. We had a good trip. Fun. But we now want to say goodbye for now. Right? We'll be back. We'll be back later.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, actually.
Is the army okay? Are my sons okay? No, sir. Your son's dead.
Goliath is the giant Philistine who has been challenging us to pick one person to fight him.
Oh, who's going to do it?
Hello, did you miss the adjective giant?
Has to find a way to get big Goliath off his vertical base.